Hey everybody, I am so excited to be here today, especially for you to meet Harold Smith. He is an amazing educator. He is an elementary art teacher and has been teaching for 36 years, which is just like so inspirational. So I'm excited for Harold to join us. So while we're kind of waiting for him to get into the chat and for me to accept him as a guest, why don't you guys drop in some little emojis about what you've been up to today, maybe share where you are in the world and share where you're joining us from so we can see what kind of people we have in the chat today. I'm so excited you are all here. Especially art teachers, we love to hear a little bit more about maybe what level you teach or what you're looking forward to maybe this summer if you're on summer. So feel free to drop in where you are from. Hello from New York, or hello to New York. And then also just share with us maybe what you're up to today, what you've been working on, a fun fact while we are waiting for Harold to join. So again, we'll be learning a little bit about how Harold works in his classroom. And if you have not already checked out his Instagram and his YouTube channel on Mr. Smith's Art Room for Kids, he is amazing. He has great content for students and is just the best person. So we're going to go now and we'll give a warm welcome to Harold once he joins us. Technology. Cross your fingers, y'all. Hey, Harold! How are you doing, Harold?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Can you hear us okay?
Not that great.
Okay, do you have us on like if you have headphones or maybe you're just trying to listen on a computer?
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh, well, we'll just keep going and maybe it's okay.
All the way. Let me plug in. I'm sorry.
All right, tell us if y'all think that you can hear us okay. Face mask with see-through. Right. You guys can see. I feel like this is
Give me a second.
Okay. We got it. Technology, we can do it. Thanks for your patience, y'all.
Okay.
Is that better?
Let's see. Okay, say something.
What do you think? Is that better? Okay, y'all in the chat, tell us what you think. If we sound like we're too muffled or anything, let us know. We'll try to adjust. Okay, but anyways, welcome, Harold. We are so excited you are here to tell us about your classroom and tell us what you're up to and share your perspective as an educator. So for those of you that are just in the chat now, Harold, can you tell us a little bit of a background about you as an artist, as an art teacher, and tell us about you?
Okay. I've been teaching for a long time. I first started out working in Baltimore City schools. I started back in 1987.
Should I tell you that's the year I was born or not?
Oh my goodness. Well, let me tell you how much a teacher with a master's plus 20 got back then. I got $21,000.
Times have changed.
Ooh, yes, they have. Anyway, when you first start in Baltimore City, they they throw you in a pool and see if you're going to sink or you're going to swim.
All
They give you
right.
3 schools. And I had one I went to on Monday and 2 I went to on the other days, and nobody had everything you needed. I had this big, gigantic bag. One school had paper, one school had drawing materials, one school had chalks, and talk about ordering stuff. No, you couldn't order stuff, but
Oh
I
man.
made do. I carried my bag from school to school, and I learned. But one thing, I had one school, they had an art room. The other schools, I was on a cart.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that was really good was I was in the classroom of other teachers, and I could see how they handled their classrooms. And I learned from that. That
Yeah.
was like me being in school, seeing how they worked with their classes. And that was my foundation for becoming me. Now, that was in Baltimore City. In Baltimore City, I had just about all African American students, and staffs were predominantly African American.
Mm-hmm.
After 6 years, I applied to go to Baltimore County. And things were a little different in the county. And of course, I live in Baltimore County, and I always had this dream of working in a school that was in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got it. Only thing I didn't realize was when I went to my first elementary art teacher meeting was I was the only African American male elementary art teacher.
Yeah.
So that kind of blew me away at first. But when you're in your classroom, in your school with your kids, you don't care. You're
Right.
with your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you're having a great time with them. And even if you have another art teacher in your room, in your school, like I do
Mm-hmm.
now, we don't have a lot of time to sit down and talk about curriculum.
Of
She's
course.
in her room doing what she needs to do. I'm in my room doing what I need to do. Once I close my door and get the kids in there, they're mine, and I tell them, I'm going to treat you just like I treat my own child. His name is Giles Perry Smith. He's 28 years old. He's a professional swimmer. And one thing that we have that's the same, we both have been in professions where we're the only ones, or have been the only ones.
Sure.
You don't see a lot of African American swimmers, not males. And, things have changed in Baltimore County. I'm going to tell you right now, we have a whole lot more young men in elementary art. Thank God.
Yeah, that's
But
excellent.
there's a lot more room to grow.
Absolutely. Now, I was going to have you touch on that a little bit. How do you feel like typically being usually the only Black male elementary art educator, or just within your classroom or your district, what does that feel like to you, or how can you kind of make a difference or a positive change for your students because of that unique perspective that you have, or just being you, right? How can you kind of touch on the fact that maybe you were typically and the only one in maybe a dominant female profession? What does that feel like to you, and what do you feel like kind of helped you to grow as an art teacher because of that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, the only time I really would feel that was when we would go to meetings.
Sure.
But then again, after years and making friends and camaraderies, and I have teachers of all backgrounds and walks of life, and I'm going to say I've spawned about 20 student teachers that have become teachers.
Ooh, that's amazing.
So
that is
great. They are my children. I hope some of them are on here right now.
Absolutely.
And so they are my family.
Yeah. That is such a huge success and a true testament to you as an art teacher, Harold. The fact that the way you teach and the way you show your love for your students then encourages other people to do the same, whether it's in the same profession or a different profession. So that's really inspiring. Now, let's back up for a second because we're going to talk more about your experience there. But I was just curious, at least I, as a fellow art teacher, I'm curious about your time doing art on a cart, because that is pretty relevant to what's happening now. And I know we'll talk about your online teaching with YouTube and things like that too. But can you share a little bit about maybe the difference between being on a cart and how you run your classroom? Tell us like how you want your students to feel in your art room, and maybe compare those two, what that feels like.
Well, art on a cart is a totally different world, and thank goodness that I don't have to do it. I mean, if we have an emergency, something happens, they need to use my room for some reason, sure. But when I did, it's something you prepared for. You would try to carry everything. Every once in a while, you forget something. Like I said, I had a bag that was my bag of tricks. And as long as I had my bag of tricks, I was just like Felix the cat. I could pull something out and I could make something happen.
Yes.
But it was great to see what these other teachers were doing in their rooms. But I'm in their room.
Right.
And I can only do but so much. You can't be me. In my room, I can do my dance. I can be me. I know how to move this way. I know how to move that way. I can grab for this. I got my Promethean there. I can grab my slate. I can hit my videos. It's my world. Yep. And in my world, I can almost close my eyes and do it blindfolded.
Absolutely.
And that's almost why the situation that we have just stepped out of was a totally different thing, because I couldn't do my regular dance. I didn't have everything, but you learned, you got better at it, and we made a way. And if we would have to go back doing that again, I think we could be successful and
Absolutely.
even make it better
Yeah, I mean, you
than it was.
exactly. There's so much that we're constantly learning from each other, and I think that is what makes an educator and an art educator so resilient, is the fact that we're always trying new things and always, like, again, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but your YouTube channel is like trying new things, haven't been doing that for super long, and look how it's grown. So I also just wanted to commend you on your positive spirit for being within someone else's classroom and looking at it as a way to learn from that teacher and how they talk to their students. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to be art on a cardigan, but instead what's something that you can turn it into a positive learning experience. So I really love that you phrase it in that way too. Even though you may not love that you're not in your own classroom, it's really an awesome thing. So what do you feel like, going back to how you work within your space, because you can do your dance, you can make it work exactly how you want, Harold, what do you feel like is something special as far as your routines or your projects, or what you really love about being within your art room and connecting with your kids?
You just said it. Connections. That is the magic word.
Yeah.
That is the word that I want to tell first year teachers. I want to tell new teachers who want to rush right in there and get to work. Oh, I have to make a project. No,
Yes.
you don't have to make a project. You need to connect to your kids. Once you connect to your kids, the world is yours. You can do anything with your kids. But if you rush to get started before you have connected with them, then things won't always go the same.
I mean,
So
that's beautiful.
that's
And
that's the all-time number one thing. Sit and talk to your kids.
yeah.
So often people don't talk, and I'm a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm telling stories about me or I'm reading stories, I'm telling stories. And kids want to listen to stories, and then kids want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So many people don't listen to kids. Let's just sit there and listen to them, and sometimes they'll go on and on and on. You'll be looking at your watch, and, oh my goodness, our time's almost expired. Come on now. But the teachers are doing this and doing that. You need to take the time, and I'm talking to all the teachers that are out there. Take the time for your kids.
Yeah.
Talk to them, listen to them, give them that ear.
You're right.
They want to talk to you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you're picturing those kiddos that come in and they're trying to tell you a story about their dog and their teeth falling out and all these things when you're trying to teach a lesson. Like, how important is it to connect to those students and to really show them how much you care? So that seems like that's kind of the whole entire theme of your classroom. Do you have any, besides, I mean, you already kind of talked about it, really just listening to those kids. Do you have any special routines or techniques that you do to really try to connect with those kids on a deeper level? Or even, like, for example, if you are going into their classroom on Art on a Cart, what might be a way that you can make sure you're building those connections with your students first before working on projects? I mean, it could just be as simple as listening, but I'm curious if you have any other suggestions.
I noticed you do it. You have your mantra. And I call mine, I have an opening. With kids from K to first, we have an opening and we have a song that we sing. But my other kids, it's called Smiling Face. And what has been so nice, all our special area team in our school has gotten together and they have adopted my opening to do in their classrooms. And so it has almost become a school-wide thing. Call it Smiling Face. And here it is. Smiling face upon your face makes this class a very happy place. And I've been doing that as long as I've been teaching. And when I meet kids that are now adults, they might look at me and say, you look a little different. I remember when you had hair on your head. You used to have glasses on too. Oh. And they'll come by and they might say something like, smiling face. You know, kids in their 20s, 25, and I'm like, you're one of mine, aren't you? They'll say, I sure am.
Oh, yes.
And it's great. It's fantastic.
I love it. Is there any
And if I don't say it,
yes,
and start teaching, I tell the kids, raise your hand, tell them, Mr. Smith, you didn't say the opening, and I'll give a kid a treat. So they're like sitting there like this. Let's see, is he gonna say it today?
They hold you accountable because they know how
Yes.
important it is to them. So is that your kind of opening? Is it different than your song, or is that the same?
No, the song is different. And I'm
Is
not
there
gonna sing the song
any?
today.
Oh man.
The song is different. It's very childlike, and we sing it together. And I tell you, my kindergartners, my first grade, they love it. Um, but this gives me a chance, while, especially while we're saying a smiling face. I'm not just saying that. I'm looking to see who's
Yes.
not smiling
Yes.
or who's not participating, because that's telling me right there there's something the matter.
Yeah.
So that's my high sign to go by and check on that kid later on in the class to find out what's going on, what happened. You want to talk about it? That's my
Yeah.
little eye into my kids.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your check-in time for them too. Even if you're not going to sing it, if you want to just tell us the words for it or maybe pop it into your story at some point, we'd love to know what the context
All
is.
right.
I'm just
Okay, I gotta get back. I gotta get back. Okay, you let me do the Wiggly song. I wiggle my fingers. I wiggle my nose. I wiggle my elbows. I'm wiggling my toes. You can't see. There are no more wiggles left in me. I can sit quiet as quiet can be. Now that's especially for those wiggly kindergartners that
yes.
can't sit still, and you're starting out the carpet with them, and you just calm down. Listen, they want to do all this kind of stuff, so you let them do it.
hmm
Then you calm them down, and it's beautiful. It works. It works. And if we don't do it, they're the same way. Mrs. Smith, we didn't do the wiggly song.
Thank you for indulging us. That was beautiful, and I could listen to that song on repeat. It is amazing. Thank you so much, Harold. And that's completely true. Like, you're not singing just to do the song, but you're trying to connect to your students and say, I see that you
Exactly.
need this. I see that you have energy. How are we going to solve that problem, but also make
Mm-hmm.
connections to them? So clearly you know what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit more about, specifically, you said your advice for new teachers was making those connections and how important that is. Do you have any other specific things you want to share with new educators or veteran educators about either how you run your classroom, or even just speaking more to yourself as a Black educator or an elementary educator, something that makes you feel like your experience is what makes you such an excellent teacher? Can you share what you would suggest other people
Be prepared.
basically what? Yeah. What do we got to
Be
do?
prepared.
Okay.
You don't know how many times I have now. I'm not looking into other people's classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
but I can see when I have a student teacher, and sometimes they come in there and they don't have stuff. I'm doing this today. I'm doing that today. I was like, I'm looking around the classroom. I'm like, doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't have the materials ready. They might not have their flip chart. That's what we use with the Prometheans. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see your flip chart up on the board. I don't see you being prepared. And I've had kids come and tell me, Mrs. Smith, we like having you because you always prepared. I have my materials in the center of the table. My basic materials are in the center of the table. And then I have teachers tell me when I go to a meeting, I can't put my materials on the table because the kids will start touching them. I'm like, what? Not in my classroom.
Right.
No. Um, and I work hard at trying to keep materials together. And I have my kids in such a way now, when it comes to markers, they will have the markers lined up in the box with the caps going on. It look beautiful.
Love it.
Look beautiful. If you start that way at the beginning of the year, you start your routines. They will continue throughout the year.
Yeah.
So make your routines. Have your little checklists. Assign jobs. Praise your kids. Always praise your kids. And do not chastise a kid in front of the classroom. If you have a problem with a kid, say, Johnny, come on. Come here. Let me talk to you for a minute. Let me step
Mm-hmm.
into my office. Pull him aside and talk to
Yeah.
him. That kid that you just pulled aside will have so much more respect for you by doing that than doing it in front of the classroom. And you might not have that problem with that kid ever again.
You're right. That, I mean, that couldn't be said any better. And again, like, I feel like the entire theme of our conversation is just how much you emphasize connections. And that's clear with the way that you talk to your students, with how you set up your routines, and the fact that if you need to talk to a student about their behavior, how important it is to say, well, I already have a rapport with them. I already know that we trust each other and they know that I'm here to protect them and can have a safe conversation. And that's why it's okay to pull them to the side, because you know that's for their benefit, right? So let's talk a little
Now,
bit more. Let's
one
go.
more thing.
Tell
Okay.
me.
Sometimes teachers try to teach through losing control. So I always tell teachers, look at your room almost like driving a car. If you're driving too fast and you're starting to lose control down the road, what do? You put on the brakes.
Right.
You do the same thing with your classroom. If kids aren't looking, they're not listening, slow it down or stop it. Refocus, start again.
Totally. I mean, that's completely true. That's exactly how students are going to learn best, for sure. Now, can you tell us a little bit about specifically your YouTube channel? Because I know that has been a huge content creation place for you, and it is a beautiful channel. Your lessons
That's
are
my
amazing.
baby.
I know you've been working so hard.
That's my baby, Mr. Smith's Art Room for Kids.
That's right.
First thing I gotta say, I have to thank my wife, who has been my inspiration, has pushed me, has made sure I do things certain ways. I couldn't have done this without you, babe. Thank you.
That's awesome. I love it.
My YouTube channel first started off just for little kids. I wanted a way to connect with kids from all over the world, but I was essentially looking to deal with the elementary school child.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube changed some of these regulations, stopped really supporting the videos for the kids under 13. So in January this happened. So I decided I was going to change Mr. Smith's Art Room for Kids. And it's not just for kids. It's for young kids and for kids that are young at heart. That means for 13 and older and older.
Yes.
I'm doing artwork for adults, for children. I'm mixing it up. If I do one week, I do another one another week. I normally put out a video every Saturday. And a lot of direct drawing, sometimes talking about certain books that I really like. Sometimes I'm talking about places I want to go to.
Yeah.
I did a thing on Easter Island in the Moai. I'm dying to go there. Oh, if I could go there and draw.
Oh.
I've done things. I went to the Baltimore Museum of Art. I saw this beautiful, beautiful mermaid sculpture. I was blown away. I did a drawing of her. Oh, I love that drawing.
Yeah.
This has I'm not just trying to do this for everybody, but it's helping me as an artist because it's keeping me working constantly. It's keeping me doing drawings constantly, paintings constantly. But I want to do more. I want to connect with more people. Here's that word again. I want to do live streams. I want to be able to get this interaction with more people in my channel, and I want to hear what you want to see. I want to do what you want to do, and I want to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So please visit Mr. Smith's Art Room for Kids.
That's right.
Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. We've been working so hard, and we're climbing up that YouTube ladder.
It pays off, Harold, because once you go there, you can see the passion and the ideas and the ability to share so easily with students of all ages. It is clear that you are a great creator. So I really appreciate that.
It is, and COVID, it was, nobody ever knew about COVID, but this gave me a way to connect to my kids in a way I would never have expected it before.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are just, I had one little girl, Mr. Smith, I just love your channel.
Yeah.
Because I can't see you.
Right.
But I can still see you.
Yes.
So I tell everybody, keep on coming back and watching. I'm going to have different things on all the time. But I never knew when I started it that it would just work out so wonderfully.
Yeah. I mean, that's again that connection, the fact that maybe you're not right in front of them teaching and you have to be away from them for a period of time, but the fact that you're making this content where they still get to see Mr. Smith and the beautiful ideas that you have is so important and so necessary. And you're clearly just you're amazing and a natural at doing it. And probably partly because of all those wonderful years of your teaching journey along the way, but
You're being nice. I'm old.
You're
I'm an
seasoned.
old
You're
teacher.
seasoned. Well, Harold, we probably need to wrap up a little bit, but if anybody has any specific questions for you, I know you're great at answering questions on your Instagram and they can share information with your YouTube. Would you mind just reminding us again what your handle is on Instagram and on your YouTube so they can find you and follow along?
Same thing. Mr. Smith's, no apostrophe, art room, the number 4, kids. Mr.
Beautiful.
Smith's art room for kids, for YouTube, for Instagram, for Twitter too.
There you go, all of it. So you guys will definitely want to make sure that you follow along with Mr. Smith for all of his content and just, I mean, he's an amazing educator. So thank you so much for joining us, Harold. We will be saving this chat in the Instagram live tab for the Art of Ed, so y'all can watch it again, share it with your friends, or share it with another coworker. So be sure to pass along Harold's message, because obviously there are so many beautiful ways that we can help each other and collaborate as other art teachers, but also help share content, because if you're making beautiful videos, we can share those all together and help our kids learn from many sources.
Well, Sarah, I just want to thank you for reaching out to me.
Yeah.
I think this will be a friendship that will last forever.
Absolutely. I am so happy that I got to know you and continue to get to know you, Harold. You are amazing.
Thank you so much. And
all right.
you
Well, everybody
are too.
Thank you. All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll chat later.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.